Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hanging Out with Howie. I have two very special guests tonight, Michele and Jay Brannan, and of course, my trusty sidekick and wingman, Brian S. Red.
Wherever Brian is in the box, I don't know.
So you did a thing here. Kept me up for 21 hours.
I did, and you're one of the many countless people that I have to thank.
It was worth it.
It was amazing. It was an idea I had in the shower about a week and a half ago. And I got out of the shower, got dressed, called Pulse, Christian, said, I got an idea. And he's like, what's the idea? I said, the idea is I'm going to DJ for 24 straight hours on Twitch to raise money for breast cancer because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And as pretty much everyone by now knows, my beautiful wife, Michele, was diagnosed back in March. We're obviously doing really well right now, and I'll let her talk more about that than me. But I can tell you, I could not have done it without a lot of people that stepped in. You, Brian, Deb, Trevor, Jimmy, everybody from the Chill Room, Pulse, a lot of people from Pioneer DJ. I couldn't speak at the end. I was crying.
I know.
I was so touched. I was so touched by how much people put into this, and we raised over $3,000. We went from 0 to 3,000 in 24 hours, and I was mind blown, absolutely blown away. I'm playing at 4 o'clock in the morning doing Darkwave, and Brian's there.
Yeah,
didn't know Brian knew where Twitch was. Brian's shooting compliments. And then my friend Rebecca from San Diego's there. She's digging the yacht, right? Like it got surreal. But around 4 o'clock, I don't think I can do this. I've been up since 6 o'clock on Thursday, and it's now 4 o'clock on Friday. And it was the Debs and you and Trevor and everyone else like, dude, you're killing it. You got this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I got inspired and more inspired. And the goal was to do three things. Not repeat a song, which I didn't. There are songs on the list that I would listen to, and after a minute they would get knocked in as got played, but they didn't. Play Deadmau5, I remember when the sun came up, because I've had a dream of doing that like in Ibiza or something. And end with Don't Stop Me Now, because I wanted it to be a catalyst to continue to do good things and try to help other people by what I have to offer, which is playing music. So those were the only 3 goals I had. And as the day went on, people kept coming in and really inspiring me to do it. So I was just the DJ. It was all of you in the community that came in and made this happen. And you guys killed it. You just killed it.
What I woke up a couple times in the middle of the night to make sure you were still awake. I peeked my head around the corner into the office to make sure.
Yeah, and look down like, he's still playing.
Okay, all
I
right.
hear music.
Go back to bed.
Well, and there were little nuances of like, I should have worn sneakers to be comfortable, but I'm like, I don't need shoes. Yeah, if you ever try to do this and you're standing in your own house and carpet, you need sneakers. 1, because you get uncomfortable. 2, I didn't sit because I felt if I sat, I might fall asleep, and I kept getting visions of like, Jay, wake up. It's been like an hour. It's like, wait, what? So, it went because I knew if I did it big and it would get enough people thinking like that can't happen, that would be the thing that got people in the door. And, I've been on Twitch for a couple of years now, or a year and a half. I usually get 5 views. We never dropped below 30 viewers. We had 30 people in the stream for 24 straight hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I apologize. We have a rabid dog in our house, apparently, that doesn't understand you can't go into my backpack and just pull things out. So,
in the stairs real quick.
Sadly, Michelle's now yelling up to my other son, Colin, to meet her on the landing so that we corner the dog and the dog doesn't take anything. It's a puppy. And this is live TV. So these things.
Dog's been a puppy for like a year now, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, it just turned a year old, but it just put the zipper on the other side of that thing because it'll take a laptop out of there.
It's been a puppy for 8 years.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It probably will be.
Yeah. No, it was, it was that like have a big idea and then see if you can do it. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys and girls and everyone. But yeah, it absolutely warmed my heart. The care, the love, the concern, and the help for people that showed us, because this was just an idea back in March, and this is probably where I'll shut up, believe it or not, and I'll turn things kind of over to Michelle.
Yay!
Kind of hear the story of how this whole thing, the reason we're here now, and what happened then. So I'll let you go.
Okay. Well, unlike Jay, I'm not really one for loving attention, so I'm a little nervous.
I'm back now.
So I really don't like the spotlight or being the center of attention, but I will kind of tell you a little bit about my story. So in early February, I had my normal annual mammogram. I got a call a couple weeks later, and they said they had something they wanted to research a little further. So they then scheduled me for an ultrasound. Then that ultrasound ended up with a biopsy. And again, every one of these steps is, 2 weeks apart. So, it's nerve-wracking in between each of those steps. The biopsy that I had a couple weeks later, got a phone call from my doctor that said, okay, the results were positive. It was positive for breast cancer, and she said a lot of things that at the time I had no idea what she was saying. She was describing the type of cancer that I had, all these things. And at the time, my brain just kind of closed out, and Jay was in here on the computer, and I was, actually, it was one of the days I was working from home, working remotely. So I'm glad that I was actually at home when I got that phone call, because at my office, we would spend 2 days working at home and then 3 days at work. And so now I'm full-time back at work. But at that time, I was home. And so I to the room, and I'm glad he did, because everything she said kind of went in one ear and out the other. I wasn't able to really concentrate on what she was saying. And, she said, we'll be in touch. We'll have our person contact you regarding a consult with an oncologist. So anyways, one thing led to another. It was a kind of a very strenuous battle, I should say, with insurance companies. I was very lucky to be able to switch from an HMO to a PPO, which made a world of difference. It wasn't during open enrollment. So I was very fortunate to be able to switch. The biggest thing I can say for anybody going through this or any kind of medical procedure is to advocate for yourself. And that's the biggest thing I could say, is that had I not advocated for myself and spent a week in utter, horror, downloading test results and faxing and going to Kinko's and going to work and faxing and copying. And had I not done that, I would not have received the kind of care that I did. And
just real quick, the first doctor's appointment, and I went to all the doctor's appointments, was with a surgeon, and she was a surgeon, and she was very cut and dry. She did surgery. Here's what I can offer you. Here's what I can do. This, and this. And I never forget sitting with Michelle and her saying, "What did your oncologist say?" And we both looked at each other like, we don't have one yet. The doctor's appointment they made for us was with you. Well, we can move forward. I can do this. I've got time in the next month or so. And it was apparent to me how frightening and how misguided this whole process can become very, very quickly. So
it was literally left-handed, know what the right hand was doing. And, our office will contact that office, and we'll fax everything to that office. And then I'd call that office, and they'd say, oh, we didn't receive anything. And so they said, do you know what fax number they send it to? And then I'd call the other office. It was just a nightmare. And that's why I pushed with my HR department to see if there was any way I could do the PPO. I had a friend who went through something similar, and she had some recommendations. Initially, actually, I was going to go through City of Hope. But after I did get approval for my PPO, I ended up going with what's called UCSD Health, and they have what's called UCSD Moores Cancer Center, and they're the agency that I actually went and faxed all my information to, reached out to them, and they called me within 6 hours to come in for an appointment.
But by the way, we did contact City of Hope, And the receptionist said, the first appointment I have is in August. This is in March.
Yeah.
And my wife said, I have breast cancer. This is, did you say priority? Whatever word you use, she said everyone is. Like, I'll say she said, this
is an urgent matter.
This is an urgent matter. That's it. This is an urgent. She said, everyone is urgent.
So,
I mean, talk about being terrified.
Oh, I, as somebody who's been through some healthcare stuff with my situation, it's amazing to me how I think we all just kind of assume that the medical profession really has it together. And when you have, whatever happened to you, they know exactly what to do. And you just put it all in their hands and they'll take care of it. No.
I'm sure you've had to learn that same lesson, Brian, as you got to speak up for yourself. And if you don't take care of it on your own, it might not get done. So
I think this is a really important point because I'm a cancer survivor and it's 2 years now.
Oh.
And I went through the same thing. The surgeon was like, he does surgery. He wanted to earn money. And I was like, wait, whoa. And I saw an oncologist. They said, hey, we can do this new thing. And next thing you know, 2 years cancer free. But I had to fight for it. Like you said, you have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And they have jobs. I don't blame the surgeon. We met with her. She was very nice and professional, but she said,
no, this was the surgeon with the HMO.
Right. But here's your options. We can do this one, both of them, not both of them. It's going to be this. Like they have a job. You talk to a transmission guy. They don't tell you anything about the engine. They're like focused on the transmission. And that's literally how the medical profession tends to work as well. Yeah. So sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to, no, we were like deers in headlights at that. That was our very initial appointment that made me think like, oh my gosh, I can't.
We came out of it and she's like,
I'm in tears. I'm like, I can't believe I
married again and take care of the kids. And I'm like, whoa, time out. We're not there.
Whoa.
We're not there.
No.
And all 5 women that did call were really surprised to get her on the phone, I will say. No, I was like, no, we're fine. We need another path. And that's, and it's the advocacy that you have to do for yourself. And then once we did get into UCSD, tell the true story of going to the first appointment to when we went to surgery.
Yeah, no,
I drove her. I didn't go into surgery.
No, but you were, Jay, to his credit, he was there every step of the way. Every appointment that I went to, everything, I owe this guy a lot. He did a lot for me, and I appreciate it.
Is that going to be on video? Is that going to be on? This will be on YouTube forever?
Yeah, we met with the first person they had us meet was with the surgeon, who in turn had me do all new tests because they wanted their own mammogram, their own ultrasound, their own biopsy, which I was so grateful to have because it was almost like getting a second opinion. And they did this all within a week, not even a week. I think within 4 days. Yeah. And then from the time of my initial appointment with them to the time of my initial surgery was less than 2 weeks. Yeah. So my first surgery with them was a lumpectomy. So they told us all the pros and cons because at the time do we get a mastectomy? Do I get a double mastectomy? And I'm not embarrassed to talk about this anymore.
Lumpectomy is removing just what they see as cancer. Mastectomy is removing the entire breast. Double mastectomy, obviously, removing both breasts. And they were advocates for start small, build big. The first surgeon was, and this is not a put down. This is my own experience. The majority of women I've spoken to, when this information came out on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and people that I know that I worked with would say to me, I went through this. I took them both off. It was the best move. Tell her to do that. There's opinions. And Howie, I'm sure when you went through your battle, everyone has their own experience. And I don't belittle it or take away from it. But I am kind of a fan of measure twice, cut once. Yeah. More than I am of screw it, get another board. So we chose, and by we meaning it was Michelle's ultimate decision because whatever she wanted, I would support. But the surgeon also said, why would I take, if you had something on your finger, why would I cut off your arm? I remember her saying that in the consult and thinking, I like her. I like her methodology.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
But she actually had to talk me into it, because I went in with the mindset of take them both off. They can build me some pretty new ones, a later date, and I don't want to have to deal with this again. And they said, based on studies, and they showed us studies and reports, and just what Jay said, let's start, err on the side of caution, take, a little bit now. And then if we need to, we can go back and later, because you can't put it back once it's gone. So, after, speaking with them and a couple of times, this was over a couple of appointments, I'm like, you know what, I really trust that this is the right decision to make. And it was a long-term plan. You start with the surgery, and then you have follow-up, radiation, then you have, medication that you have to take for so many years. At the time we made the decision, well, as you know, Howie, there's all different kind of things that are built into it, but I had something, an onco score, was one of the tests that I received. And that is basically, a score that they determine based on a number of factors about how useful chemotherapy would be good towards your treatment. So basically it said if it's a 25 or over, chemotherapy would be beneficial to you.
Yes.
Anything less than 25, then it's something to discuss. Well, my score was only a 7. So they said absolutely chemotherapy would have no benefit to you whatsoever. That was my biggest fear.
It was a negotiable 1% survival, because everything with cancer, and Howie, if you want to talk about this later or not, everything with cancer becomes survival. So the numbers they would give us are, your survival rate is plus or minus 1% if you did chemo, which was a great day. We were in San Diego when they gave us that news. So that was a great thing to hear. Then we had the surgery. So
I had the lumpectomy, it wasn't fun, but they send you home the same day. They don't keep you in overnight, which is kind of surprising. But, Jay took good care of me, brought me home, propped me up with pillows, and I did okay. Went back for our 2-week follow-up, and they said, good news and bad news.
She was very honest with us.
Yeah, the good news. What was the good news?
Good news is everything went.
I guess the good news was the surgery went well, but the bad news was
there's a margin, and by margin,
the margins weren't clear.
The way she explained it to us was there's an area where the tumor is, but with this type of tumor, the cancer can spread and they can't see it. So the game is, how much do you take out? If the tumor's that big, do you take out this much or this much? And she said to me, we found cancer in the margin, and the margin being the area outside of what I took. So I want to go back in again. And this was on a Tuesday.
So May 4th was the first one. And then they said, can you come in tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that was.
And I said, when do we need to do this? She goes, are you available tomorrow morning?
Yeah. So we came in the next morning, and they did what they call a re-excision lumpectomy. They opened up the same opening that they did before.
And go back in and scrape and cut and whatever.
They took out some more.
Yeah.
I had some drains. It wasn't pretty, but it was, it wasn't a bad thing. It was good because I knew that they were getting,
the surgeon calls the husband, loved one, whoever, after the surgery. You were still out. Called me the first time, said, everything went really well. Your wife's doing really well. Hopefully this is going to be the only surgery we need. Second surgery, I really feel I got it all, but we won't know. So I don't want to lie to you and say she's done. So I picked her up, still coming out of anesthesia, a little out of it, get home, go through the same process, went back a week later, and she tested her again. They did mammogram, ultrasound, something else. And then we had to wait another week. So the waiting is the worst part, as with anything. But she called us and said, it's gone.
So,
we got it.
Margins are clear.
Margins are clear.
That's awesome.
So margins are not, and it was the same day. Margins are clear. And your scores, so to celebrate that margins were clear, we were in La Jolla, California. We went to our old hangout in San Diego in Pacific Beach. We had a drink to celebrate. Then we went and had lunch. And we got another phone call from the oncology department saying,
Onco score is only 7.
Your onco score is only 7. You don't need chemo. So you'll need radiation. We'll need to set up an appointment. It was like one of these blessing days.
Right.
And then
that was a great day.
That was an amazing day. And then from there, it was setting up an appointment with a radiologist. And I can't, and I hope everyone experiences the same thing we did, because the system treated us so well, so quickly, such priority. And by the way, from a DJ angle, I DJ'd a party in June. And at the party, somehow it had gotten out to the husband of the woman whose birthday it was that Michele had gone through breast cancer. I think through the guy that hired me, had said something to him, or it somehow came up. And he said, hey, I understand that your wife's had some medical issues. I said, yeah, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She's doing really well. She's had a couple surgeries. Where did she go? I said, UCSD. Oh, do you know Ann Wallace? I go, that's her surgeon. Oh my God. Well, my wife is really good friends with her. My wife had the same thing 25 years ago. So that was such a joyous...
the doctor was her surgeon.
Right.
And now they're good friends.
They're good friends. But it was such a joyous thing to hear, like, wait, so your wife did the same thing my wife did, and here she is 25
years ago.
Celebrating her birthday.
Boy, talk about networking. Holy cow.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I feel so honored and so grateful and so blessed that people like, the gentleman that reached out to you there, and all of you and all of Jay's friends, online and DJs, just everybody that he knows has been so caring and so thoughtful and so, supportive of me and the family. I'm just so grateful. I'm going to cry. I can't even say it. So I'm so grateful to everybody.
At the very end, he came in the showroom and we were both kind of choked up.
Yeah.
We were.
I'm getting there now.
I know.
I'm not ashamed.
And, hey, by the way, Michele, I'm going to out Jay. When we're on the road, he talks about you, but he always refers to you as my beautiful wife, Michele.
Oh, thank you.
Always.
Oh,
he does.
Again, there's going to be a video.
Yeah.
No, it was my perspective is obviously different, because I've had to try to be supportive and try to go through this with her. And as I've taken on this journey, the people in the chill room that have been affected by this, the people on Facebook, the people on Instagram, the people in the world, it's amazing. It came out, I went to a wedding venue, the photographer, the owner, the florist, the bride, and her sister all had breast cancer. Because it came out, they saw a post I put up on Facebook, and all of a sudden I get to the wedding and it's like everybody's had breast cancer. And I'm just like, what in the hell's going on here?
I was gonna say, that's the one thing it's
1 in 8 women, but it seems more like it's 1 in 2. Like, it's so pervasive. And it's that thing where you look at and just go, oh, I'll wait till it affects me. And you can, and maybe it never will. But God Almighty, we've been so blessed and fortunate, and I'm so grateful that the process has moved so quickly. They were no nonsense. There was no blowing smoke. It was, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do radiation for 6 weeks. You come in every day for 5-10 minutes. You do this, this, and this. Those appointments I couldn't go to. I could go to the doctors. I couldn't go with her to the treatments because it didn't make sense.
Well, no, there's no need for you to go. It's like 4 hours out of my day.
Doors are this wide. I'm not exaggerating. Am I wrong? Doors are this wide to get in and out of the room where you have radiation.
I know that.
Howie knows. Yeah, the doors are like that. They have a pretty picture on the door, like a mountainscape. Looks like there's like mountain, goats up on the top of a hill, like Sound of Music. But the door closes and it's this freaking thick.
Yeah.
Michele, did you have the sky clouds and whatnot and the drop ceiling lights?
I did when I was.
Oh God, is that everywhere?
Well, no, it was a beach scene because at Morris Cancer Center.
Which they named the rooms.
Yeah, each of the rooms was like famous beaches in La Jolla. So they had, La Jolla Shores, they had Torrey Pines, they had all these different names. My radiation was a little bit different in such that I spent the first 20 rounds literally laying on my stomach, believe it or not. So,
but even as an example, and I don't want to disclose, we're being honest here. Mm-hmm. The doctor said where the tumor was, I think we might be better having you lie this way where we can focus directly. I'm going to look into it and I'll get back to you. If that's the better treatment plan, I'd rather do that, because part of radiation and I didn't know this either. The problem with breast cancer is when you get radiation, that radiation can go through to your lungs.
Well, he said it could affect my ribs, and it could affect my lungs. And so he said, I'm going to send this to the radiation oncologist. No, he's the radiation oncologist, and there's a radiologist.
They're
two
different doctors.
And get their take on it, because of the size of my tumor and the fact that there weren't clear margins initially. Rather than doing localized radiation, they wanted to do full breast radiation. So that would mean, more likelihood that it could affect my lungs or my ribs. However, the kind of radiation that I ended up doing was where I laid on my stomach, and my, girls kind of hung down out of a hole, and they did radiation that way. And that was
That's a technical term.
Girls.
My girls. And so they did it that way. And then the last week was what they called the power boost. And that's when I laid on my back, Howie, and was able to see the clouds and the beach scene on the ceiling. And they try to, play the music and, do things that take your mind off of it.
By the way, this is the hardest part, but relax.
Try not to breathe. For a minute.
When you start being extra kind and say things like power boost, you're in for it.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's going to be 6 weeks of this, and then there's 4. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. Like, you've already done 30 treatments, but there's the special 4 on the back end.
Yeah. By the way, here's the special lotion that you need to put on your burnt skin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've had people get third degree, but it's not, because again, when you talk to survivors, they give you one story, and then the doctors, and I don't think he downplayed it, but he said, I don't expect it. And again, when you're talking to medical professionals, words like expect or not common or once in a while take on a whole new meaning to you. And it's like, this is serious stuff. I mean, how you go through that with radiation treatment, you're taking something that can kill everything in you and trying to localize it. I think the blessing, if there is such a thing in this whole process, was when the score came back, because we were in OB, and they said, your score's 7. We don't give chemo under 25 because there's only a 1% chance of better survival rate. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh.
Well, that was the big thing for me personally.
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid of radiation. I was personally afraid of chemotherapy. And people, and I joined different Facebook groups, and I was different, support groups. And, people go one way or another. Some people are definitely afraid of radiation, and they're afraid of that laser, and, and then they think chemo's a piece of cake. It was opposite for me. I was not afraid of radiation, but I was definitely afraid of the chemo.
Right.
So to get the news that I didn't need that, you're the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, and it was going to be like, okay, if she loses hers, I got to shave mine. The kid's got to shave theirs. Like, we've got to show a solid front here.
No, we can't have that.
We got to be, and that was my fear. I was like, screw
that. That was my only.
That was their only benefit of chemo. Was like, if I had chemo, he's got to cut that all off. That's actually, I'll be happy.
It's a daily request.
Yeah.
I have a couple of quick comments. I hope they're quick. Now, I never heard the story about the room that you had to go into, and what you're describing to me. The only thing I can think in my head is the euthanasia room in the movie Soylent Green. It's what it was reminding me of.
It's probably not far off. It's probably Howie could also speak on this. I only saw them from afar because, again, this is a deadly thing. Radiation is not a positive. So when you would go to the appointments, you go down the hallway, and off to your right side, you see these doors and Howie, tell me, I'm not exaggerating. The doors are
Oh, for
literally
real.
this thick of lead.
They're
Right.
at least a foot thick.
At least.
Yeah.
Well,
A foot's
I had
like
never,
that.
Yeah.
I had never
I'm
heard
saying.
that story, but everything
Yes,
else
9
that
inches.
both of you have been talking about, I've heard this, and I heard it from Jay. And the thing that impressed me most, I think, through this whole thing, as far as Jay's handling of it, and having gone through some things before and having family as advocates and stuff, it was so cool when he would come in and he would tell us what was happening. He knew in detail what was going on. He did his research. It's not like it was like, oh well, they said this, I don't quite understand this, but no, he knew. He knew the terms. He knew how to pronounce it. He knew what it meant. He knew what the margins were. He was on it.
100%.
really was.
And I'm so great, because when you're the patient and you're sitting there listening to a doctor or somebody telling you something, I mean, you're trying to absorb it all, but sometimes, you're hearing it, but you're not
comprehending it or processing it.
Right.
So he would come in, he'd put his phone,
This is
on.
something I have to tell everyone. I took notes, but I also secretly recorded every.
Well, not secretly, but you just recorded.
Well, no, I recorded it on my phone. I didn't tell the doctor, by the way, I'm recording everything here, but I recorded it all and then would play it back and listen to it and then go on the internet and be like, okay, what's HER2? What's
No, you were an expert on this. It was pretty incredible that you.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to help her because I knew I couldn't go through it with her.
Yeah.
Like when we had the kids, I went to the Lamaze class. I was in the room when she had the C-section. I did what I could do, but I can't go through it with her. But I at least wanted to know what to expect.
Sure.
Because it didn't matter what happened to her. Like, I love her. She's my wife. I'm going to be with her forever. I wanted to try to help. And I knew that part of the process was that I couldn't help. And that's scary.
You did a good job. I'm just saying.
A really, really important thing that I'm sure would be helpful to some of the viewers later on. My Lori, who's in the room here.
Yeah, there's Lori.
She accompanied me to one of my appointments, and I put my phone on video and had it in my pocket.
Yeah, I just put mine on voice record. Yeah.
So I had the audio, and I'm like, and I was looking stuff up, and
Yeah.
And aren't you glad you did? Because you heard things in the replay that you didn't hear during the initial appointment because
it was a blur to me, just like it was to you the first day.
Well, you can't pay attention as the patient.
No.
And that was my job was to go in with her, intimately learn the parking garages of the hotel or the hospital, not the hotel, intimately figure out where to go and what to do. But then more importantly, to try to give her some solace in the follow-up by going, okay, I've got an hour and 36-minute recording. Let me listen to it. Go online, find something, and be like, oh, that's not a big deal. No, that's pretty common. That term, hydrochlorothiazide is this. Don't worry about it.
Oh, everything sounds scary. Everything sounds scary.
Everything sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
And what I appreciated about the medical profession, probably more so now than even before, was the fact that we were, we had doctors who understood their position and their job, and that's what they wanted. They didn't want a bad outcome. They didn't want this to be the last time they saw her. They didn't want this to be, you're not going to make it. They wanted this to be, hey, and they didn't blow smoke. They said, here's the deal. We're going to do this, this, this. Let me try to do that. Let me try to do that. And we'll get out of this. Now, since then, Michele is on medication that, and this was scary, that she'll be on for the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, every day. But it's them trying to keep her out of the system.
Right.
Right.
I've never been to a chiropractor because, and I know a couple, and I joke with them about like, I'm not going to have you look at my back because you're going to go like this, and I'm going to go, and you're going to go, see, you need to come see me. No.
Every week.
Right. Yeah.
Forever.
L5 is what's screwed up, and the T1, forget it. You should be on a wheelchair. So with the doctors we have, and I hope everyone's doctors that experience this, if you have to go through it, their long-term, kind of vision of it is, you have to come see me for the next 5 years. I don't want you to go in those 5 years. I don't want you to leave this planet. I want you here for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And, whatever diagnosis you get, you deal with. But it's nice to know that part of the profession is looking at, when we get through this, this is what we do.
I love how do you notice how he says we? It's like we have an appointment, our doctor.
Oh, we're doing this.
You're going, so everything's been.
He was like that the whole time.
He was. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I said to Howie earlier, and I don't know if you were here or not, and I said to Pioneer DJ and a bunch of other people, I said, started sending out thank yous today. I'm like, we raised $3,000. We did this. I DJ'd it. I stood in the office for 24 straight hours.
All of them.
But without them, I couldn't have done it. So to me, it's a we effort. And we're married. This is my wife. I love her to death. And it's a we thing. Brian and I have talked about this. We've been to shows now for going on 14 years.
Yeah.
It's not something I leave behind. I know some people might get nervous, like, oh, they're at a show. What are they doing? No.
It's very boring.
I mean, it's me and Brian
boring.
talking about, like, why is this band better than that band at 4 a.m, or getting a cheesesteak, or doing.
Oh, look what the British people are doing. Well, we're going to just sit here and do this other thing.
No, because they're not doing that.
They're definitely not doing that.
Yeah, and if you're British watching this, we know what you do in Vegas.
Yes. Everything you say is terrible about Americans, you're doing every time you come.
Yeah, trust me. You guys getting in the limo, right? It's like, nah, I'm good.
No,
I think I'm gonna have a Bud Light and just chill right here with Brian. No, but that's the thing. I think you have to be a we. I was amazed, and I will say this now, and I will say it to anyone that asks me. The people that have the least give the most, and the people that the shortest tend to jump up out of nowhere and embrace you in a way that makes you feel so loved and so special in the world, because you look at it and say, I barely know this person, but they're messaging me on Facebook every other day. How's your wife? How's your wife? How's your wife? And I'm like, there are times I want to come back and say, why do you even care? Like, I barely know you. Why are you asking? And then you kind of realize everyone has been touched by cancer. Everyone has been touched by illness. I lost my dad in 2016. I lost my mom in February of 2021. Everyone's been touched by that. People reach out to you in a way to make you understand that it's not all over.
Well, you both had quite a year. I mean, a lot of things have happened. I know recently, Michelle, you lost your grandmother, correct? Mm-hmm. So, it's just been this year.
Yeah, no, we lost my grandma in December. We lost Jay's mom in February. I got my diagnosis in March.
Yeah.
My dad fell very ill in April.
Yeah.
He pulled through. He's still fighting. But it was one hit after another. And at the same time, we're trying to work. I'm still working. I was fortunate enough to be able to take 8 weeks after my radiation and my surgery off of work. I'm back at work now, but it was kind of
but some people had it worse.
After another. Yeah.
And there's a lot of
realize. I hope you realize that normal people would have cracked under one of those things.
Oh yeah.
But,
I always realize, Brian, that there's people that have had it much worse. And there's people that get up every day.
Right attitude.
They don't know where the next meal comes from. And I'm blessed and grateful. I've had a great year as a DJ. My wife has a full-time job. We have 2 great kids. We'll get through this.
Yeah.
We will come out on the other side. 25 years from now, when we celebrate our 46th wedding anniversary, we'll look at each other and be like, remember that time?
No.
And if we don't make it to 25, we'll keep thinking we're gonna, because then we'll appreciate every day. Yeah. And we'll understand that every moment is a blessing. I've learned so much from talking to Howie over the time in the chill room. And I'll be honest, the chill room has gotten me through a lot of this. You guys have been amazing. I said to Michelle the other day about, I want you to come in the chill room. You've never been in the chill room. So after our show tomorrow night that we're going to shoot, Michelle's coming in the chill room at 8 o'clock just to hang out. because she hasn't been there. But yet everyone there knows her really well
Right.
through the stories and through follow-up. You know, and as Howie said, 21 hours. I mean, Deb modded my set the other night for like 17 hours. Deb has a life. She has a job. She has a life. She has other stuff she could do.
I don't have a life.
You know, Howie's got, you know.
Yeah, no, in a way, this has been therapeutic for you. This has been therapy for you, being my support, you know, because you know, you're coming at this from a different perspective. I'm the patient, but you're the support person. So I think you
And I'm fine with that. And
I'm so grateful to all of you for providing that, you know, support to him. Really, I am.
No, they've been amazing. So, I mean,
you needed that outlet.
I totally needed it. I mean, I worked in a hospital at 16. I studied to be a pharmacist. I've been around hospitals. You know, God rest in peace. My mother was a psychiatric nurse, and all my life I understood what that was and how important that was to help others. I mean, I was volunteering before I got my first paying job. Because I enjoyed it, and I did it with the San Diego Police Department for 8 years, and it all makes you who you are, but you can't do it alone. You need those people. You need that support system.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to be the first to volunteer. If you're going through something, you know, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty accessible. YouTube.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the biggest takeaway to this whole thing for me is, you know, I don't want to say that I lived in a vacuum before or in a you know, tube, but now I know so much more about what people go through, and I feel so much more connected to the, you know, to the community and to people who may be going through something similar, that like now I feel like, oh my gosh, you know, we have resources, we have ways that we can help. You know, people helped me in certain ways, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, you know, I had no idea this was a need that existed. I mean,
I was thinking about when
I may
you
have
were,
known it, but now I know that, like, wow, we can actually do something to help. We can, you know, we can make a change in some people's lives.
Even simple stuff. I was thinking about what, you know, Jay was saying about the person who was friends with your doctor, and how it was 25 years ago, or the wife. 25 years ago, this is you. This is going to be you in 5, 10, 15 years. And that's who I was initially after mine, you know, 6 months, a year later, 2 years later, I was that guy who Brian had it. Talk to him. He's fine. You become
did you ever think you'd be like that person? I mean, it's kind of weird being the one that like people come to and say like, oh, tell me about your experience. Tell me, like, how you're shaking your head too. That like,
well, you never know what you're capable of until you're like there.
100%.
You don't. My brother had told me when I was, you know, blind, paraplegic in the hospital bed, he said, I could never do what you're doing. Yet my brother's a 2-time cancer survivor now. You know, and he is rocking it.
Yeah.
And he had in his brain, there's no way I could handle a major medical thing like this. And he's doing it. You don't know what you're capable of until you're in that position.
Exactly.
100%.
And it really is like a family. I noticed that in the chat during your marathon.
100%.
And it's like we've gotten really close, at least the three of us, but then we get people come to us, like Brian had his stroke, I had the cancer, and your wife, and it's like we get out of ourselves when we're helping other people. And I saw that over and over again. There was not one unkind word in the thousands of chats.
Yeah.
It was all kindness and love. It was so
touching.
Magic in a bottle. You know,
I'll be honest with you. I had every vision in my head, and Brian and I have talked at length about, you know, I got an idea. We'll feed tuna mayonnaise that way.
Oh, that story again.
And yeah, you know, I'm the ideas guy. Ask Pulse. It's like, we got to do this, and if we do this, and they're always unachievable. And this was one of the first times that it was suddenly like, I got this idea, but it comes down to me. And the second I told him, he immediately said, okay, you'll need to do this and this. And then I told you guys in the chill room, and everyone was like, oh, okay, make us all moderators, do this, do that. Like nobody, nobody didn't believe it could happen.
Right.
I came in as the weakest link in the chain because I'm like, no, it was just an idea.
Oh.
And then it suddenly became, oh, wait a second, this actually
execution. I have to execute this now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, because I said it and I put the word out. Okay, but if I do this and I do, but it all came down to one thing. It was always underlying. People have been so kind to me. You guys, I mean, I love everybody in the chill room. I say that with all sincerity. And I can't tell you how many times I cried.
Well, how about what was the most difficult part of the marathon? Was it when you had a backseat DJ telling you how to do a yacht rock set, or was it the standing part?
Okay, he's out of the pocket now. Wait a second.
He did. That's the exact term it was. He said, and he came right back. Oh, that was a nice curve back.
Well, Deb snapped at me and I'm like, well, I didn't mean it like that. But his Jay Ferguson's Thunder Island was atrocious. I'll say that
version.
I don't know. I think that was like in the style of Jay Ferguson from your favorite comedian.
Seriously, who was that?
This was like the 11-hour mark.
Recognize it.
But
didn't recognize that song.
Everybody stepped up so much, and everyone, people I barely know came through. People I know very, very off the fringe came through, donated money, donated time, said great things.
Though, like probably the scariest moment.
Scariest moment was 4:00 in the morning, because it was at that moment that I had a clear vision that it wouldn't happen.
And you probably don't know this, but there's a sofa right behind where his DJ setup is, and he purposely filled
that's got all the lights on
with like lights and everything on it. And I'm like, don't you want to clear that off so you can, sit?
No.
It's like, no. If I sit, I'm gonna fall asleep.
I didn't trust myself.
Did you see what just happened? Jay went off topic, and Michelle was like, "Hold on a second. Answer the question." That's what I love about her. Like nobody can do that. I mean, we've been trying, but it doesn't happen.
Can you be on the show next week and tomorrow and the next?
We need a moderator for Jay here full time.
Please, Michelle, we're begging you.
The learning lesson for me was that sometimes when you have a crazy idea that's going to help others, you got to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because people that you would never expect to step up will step up so hard and give so much of themselves.
You do what you can.
I will never stop being appreciative for the rest of my life at how much people rallied up for what I thought was a good idea and they made happen. I'm not donating money to breast cancer. We are.
Right.
I just played the music.
The thing that, so my name got put on some list, not really sure how, when I was diagnosed. And out of the blue one day, I got what they call a hope kit from the National Breast Cancer Foundation, which is where all the donations have gone to. And, people can donate for, individual, I want to send a hope kit to so-and-so. And I can't remember the exact amount. It was like $25. And in the kit, it gets mailed to you. You get, lotion, you get a candle, you get, a little book, you get some socks, you get a little hat. I mean, stuff to make you, a girl feel good about herself. And so I was thinking, man, that meant a lot to me when I received that hope kit. And now with $3,000 to think,
it's 150 of those. Yeah.
Can be mailed out.
Wow, really?
Yeah. That some woman who may not have a husband or kids, I heard stories from people of what Tammy told me when she found out about Michelle. She's like, oh, my friend went through this. She had just gotten divorced. She moved from her, Montana to here. They bought a house. Her husband, no, she didn't get divorced. Her husband died. So she's alone with 4 kids in a new city with a new home and no income, and she gets diagnosed. No nearby family, and gets diagnosed. And I'm like, my God, people have, and I understand that everyone has a story, but some of them are so gut wrenching that you can just bring in a moment of peace.
Right.
You know, and the National Breast Cancer Foundation does research. They do the Hope Kids. They do a lot of different things. And I'll be honest.
They provide services for people who need rides to therapy or doctor appointments. They do.
There's a lot involved. And they were chosen by us because there are a lot of different, just put it on like vibrators on. There were a lot of different websites you can go to that rate charities. And they will tell you, this is a nice charity, but they're paying the CEO $3.7 million. That comes out of those donations.
Right.
So their percentage of money that they do to overhead was very low. They're just people that want to help. That was the thing. I wanted more of the money to go directly than I wanted it to go to, you know, the Pink Ribbon Foundation that we spend $200 million a year on just buying ribbons. Like, no. Help the people that need the help.
I think it was a good choice.
Yeah, it was.
Very good
and
choice.
It was smart to do the direct thing, you know, because like, what is that GoFundMe? They take a huge chunk.
Huge.
They do.
Yeah, I know. And I wanted to make sure people knew that their donations were going directly
To something.
Because, you know, I mean, I know, I'm sure everybody trusts Jay, but people,
And
you know,
I understand
people don't know,
getting
you know,
anxious.
and I would feel
I'd
nervous
be nervous
donating
too.
to somebody, just an individual,
Yeah.
with where it was going. So
He's going to go buy booze with this money. I know.
Yeah, but the
Well,
people that tuned in, they knew.
Didn't matter.
It didn't. Yeah.
But it's great that you did it.
It's worth. There's a percentage that both platforms take out of it. It will be, I will make up all of the difference. And I said that when this whole thing started with Twitch, with everything, all the money that got taken out for, oh, you gave Jay money. Well, we took this percent out. I'm going to personally make up all of that so that it is the 3,000 plus number. Because otherwise they start taking this, they take that. I'm making it $3,000. So regardless of what, you know, I think it was 27 something. And then there was percentages, but I'm writing a check for $3,000, and then the differences will fall back on me because it's my thank you to everyone that stepped in and just said here. And whether, you know, the lowest donation was $2, the highest was $500.
And even if somebody couldn't donate, I mean, the fact that they were tuning in and supporting.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I take that back. The highest donation, one donation came in, and I won't say who it's from because I don't think that's fair. The highest donation was $1,000. The lowest donation was $2. And they, to me, are both the same because they're going to get added together and become one number that goes to help.
Right.
So this isn't about you had to do this, you had to do that.
Right.
You know, like I said earlier, and I will say it again, the people that had the least always give the most.
Right.
100%.
That's so. It really is true.
Yeah.
It really is.
You know.
Well, this has been really wonderful.
Yeah, and I want to thank you.
How to end this without choking up?
Yeah. No.
Brian, would you end this?
Oh, yeah. Let's get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah,
I was trying to.
And thank you, you know, before you close, Brian, I just want to thank each and every one of you for all the love and support that you've given to Jay and my family and to this cause. It's so appreciated and it means so much to us.
I was going to just tell you that I was going to try to get Blanca to come over here and say hi because she was going to the laundry room. And she looked at me and she mouthed, "Oh, hell no." She won't go on camera.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, it
so
took,
you know.
it took a lot for Jay to like get me on here because
You're doing great.
like, you mean on camera or just my voice? And he's like, yeah, you're going to be there.
She got home from
No,
work.
he said there's 3,000 people.
Yeah, I
waiting
said there's
to see you.
3,000 people waiting in the queue. She goes,
Yeah, whatever. Come on.
I'm not going on. I'm like, yeah. You are. And I'm saying this even though I know this is going up at a later time, but I'll say it to everyone that's in here. Tomorrow night when we do Brian and my show with Howie, that's 7 p.m. Pacific time. 8 o'clock, I'm going to come back in. 8 or 8:30, I'll come back into the chill room. Michelle's going to hang out with us a little bit tomorrow night. So she'll be in the chill room to, you know, see and speak to people that she knows only through messages.
I'll get a cardboard cutout of Blanca. Stand here.
There you go.
Please tell her
Yeah.
I said hi.
I will. I'll tell her. Yeah, you know what? Michelle said hi, and you weren't even nice enough to come and wave at her because
this took a lot for me.
Me too. I'm very uncomfortable in public eye like this.
Okay, well, because of that, we're going to do you a big favor. We're going to go ahead and sign out for the night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time on Hanging with Howie.
Peace.
Take care.